we're afraid of what people will think, or we're afraid we're not good enough, or we're afraid we're too much. And so we hold ourselves back. When we do that, we're muting ourselves. And there are too many people that are muting themselves in the world. And I, for so many years, was one of them. I've discovered the power of unmuting myself, of showing up in the world in a way that is joyfully expressed and boldly alive. That's something that has been so important to me as I've discovered how freeing it is to be unmuted, to unmute our body and to unmute our ideas and to unmute our desires, to unmute ourselves in relationships and at work, and to be our own advocates and to ask for what we want and need. The unmuted life is a life that is fully alive and fully expressed and confident and clear. And to me, it's the only way that I know how to live now. I know what it's like to feel confined and stuck and small and silenced. And I also know what it feels like to be expressed and alive and joyful and present and seen. And it's so much better of a life to be unmuted. And that is what I want to bring you into. Are you ready to unmute yourself? Let's make it happen. Happy Monday, everybody. It's so good to be back. I took a little bit of a hiatus in March. It's like, we just started this, Rachel, and I want to share something with you about just the power of making decisions to protect our own boundaries and to protect our own energy and mental health and well-being. So I was due to do a show 2 weeks ago, or I think around March 21st, and my husband and I had been traveling the week before on spring break, and I had a keynote in Tampa. And I was really pining over it. I was like, I want to be consistent. I said every other week I'm going to do this show. And I just started in January. And what will people think? Anybody else ever been there where you just like tell yourself a story in your head about how something's not going to work out, or what people are going to think, or they're going to be disappointed in you? And then you make a decision that hey, this is ultimately overall for my life, this is a good life decision. So I said, you know what? It's okay. We're just going to skip it. And if we only had one show in March, it is what it is. And so we're back today. We're going to have another show next Monday with someone I'm excited to tell you about. And we've got our guest ready for April 25th too. And we'll let you know about that at the end of the show. So yeah, I love it. Nancy's like, consistently inconsistent. Sometimes we just have to give ourselves a break and cut yourself some slack. And even if you've already made a commitment to something, guess what? It's okay to change your mind. It's okay to change your mind. So, and that's a way to unmute ourselves, right? Is to say, you know what, I might have, and it's not about constantly going back on our commitments and whatnot, but it's really helpful to know that we have the ability and that sense of agency to be able to change our mind to do something that's going to protect our mental health and well-being. So I just wanted to mention that as kind of where have we been? That's where we've been. I also wanted to give a shout out to Trevor Houston and Chelsea Crossed for having me on their shows last week. I know some of you joined us for those conversations. So fun. Lots of mic drop moments on Trevor Houston's show. It's such a fun show. It's the Who You Know show on Wednesdays. So definitely check that out if you're not already following him. He's just a really entertaining guy. And we had a lot of fun. There was some singing involved. There was some gospel choir singing involved. So you might have been there for that. But it was a lot of fun. We had just a great time. So feel free to check those out or search those folks on here to check out their shows. I also wanted to mention just 2 more housekeeping things before I introduce our guest, who I'm so excited to have today. Before I do that, hey, let us know where you're joining us from. Let us know. I'm in Baltimore, Maryland. Good old East Coast. Let us know. We've got a hi from Dubai. Awesome. Good to have you here. Ahmed, we've got Zach. Hey, Zach. Good to have you back. Toby, Maureen. Oh my gosh, this is so fun. I love just seeing all your names pop up. So let us know where you're joining us from. So we can give you a shout out and gratitude for coming globally, coast to coast here in the States. Our guest today is from the opposite coast as me, so I'm excited about that. So two just more quick things. If you're not already subscribed to my newsletter on here, I drop it every other week. It's called Unmute Yourself. And the last article was about how to disconnect to reconnect. How we can take guilt-free vacations and set some boundaries so that we actually can like not check our email and when we're on vacation, and we can actually enjoy ourselves. We can unmute our joy, because let's be honest, like emails are going to keep coming, but we're not always promised like the next moment with our loved ones or the ability to travel or to do all these things. And so I think it's so important that we really honor and revere the time off that we take and the time that we spend with our loved ones, because that is something that helps us recharge and replenish and renew so that we can keep moving forward again with that confidence and courage and joy and energy. So, and that's all our announcements for today. Just wanted to mention some of those things on the front end. And now what I would like to do is introduce, oh my gosh, Danielle, tuning around from around the corner. Appreciate that. Shout out to Daniel, who, by the way, made that awesome intro video. He's like a super talent. We've got Long Island, New York, Long Island. Is that how they say? Just up the road. Yeah, Toby's nearby too. Northern California. Hey there, Nancy. You got a friend in Northern California. We've got Minnesota. Sue from Minnesota. Right? Is that what they say? Sylvia's from San Francisco. Oh, I love this. We're going to have, oh, hi, Jill. Taking a break from manning a trade show booth in DC. Can listen for a bit. Wow. Like, what a commitment. Oxford, UK. Keep them coming. We're so glad you're here. Yo from New Jersey. Zach. Awesome. Tulsa, Oklahoma in the building. Jason's a new friend on here. And then Michael from Wisconsin and LA. Excellent. Nancy. So perfect segue. Our guest today, known as Nancy Deborah here on LinkedIn. She's known as the Queen of Engagement, and check this out. This is pretty awesome. She was named one of the top 50 most impactful people of LinkedIn, and she's going to tell you a little bit more about that in our conversation today. She's a keynote speaker and a coach who helps others understand the value of value and power of personal content and social media. She's thrived through adversity and uses her experiences and what she's learned to help people do what she calls radiate real. So we're going to talk about that today. And by telling her story, she knows this is one of the ways that we really align, is we know the power of telling our stories is something that can activate and encourage other people to open up and do the same. And today's conversation is one that requires a lot of courage and bravery. And so I just already am proud of Nancy for how she shows up and for how she's going to show up in this conversation today. Through her program, The Chick with the Tool Belt, she helps others meet their highest potential. And she partners with clients on showing up, finding their voice, and fully engaging their community across platforms and guiding them to reach their personal and business goals. She's live every Wednesday and Saturday with Brian Schulman, who was our inaugural guest on this show. Shout out Brian Schulman, from their global award-winning shows What's Good Wednesday and Shout Out Saturday. So that is the wonderful Nancy Barrows. Nancy, welcome to the show. It's so wonderful to have you here.
Thank you. Yay, I'm happy dancing, Rachel. Happy dancing.
Yeah.
I love it. Thank you for the warm welcome, and thank you to everyone who's here at Radiating Real. My palms are sweating. Like, I go live all the time. I've been on shows. I have my own show, and I'm just, I don't know, feeling the nerves a little bit today.
Which is totally normal. Hey, here's how we can reframe it. Because sometimes physiologically, same symptoms, excitement and anxiety.
That's true. There you go.
Right?
See?
There's your interpretation of I'm just really excited to be here. Because
I am fully excited to be here. I've been waiting I was actually in the green room 30 minutes early, so excited. But I also say it because I want people to know, like, I go live all the time. I do things, out in the world, speaking, all of that kind of stuff. And you still, still okay to show up feeling a little bit nervous or, excited.
Yes.
And those things are all really, really normal. And we keep going because of the warm welcome of people in the comments and the support of people like you, Rachel, right? We start having this conversation and you don't think about it anymore.
Yeah. Well, it's like one of the things that I've discovered, and then we'll do a little fun exercise here in a second. But one of the things that I've discovered just in doing this work, I've been speaking in some capacity my first paid speaking gig was in 2008, and I've been doing it more consistently for the past, I'd say, 6 or 7 years. And people have an assumption that if you show up as confident, right, in a certain way, that like you don't also get nervous, or that you don't also have these moments where you have butterflies in your stomach. But when you start to shift it of like, look, people are rooting for you, right? Like, let us know, drop in the chat some encouragement and say, just to say, hey, because truly people want to see us do well.
Oh my gosh, I just did a
You
post
know?
yesterday about that. Like you start sharing your story genuinely and honestly, and you find that people are really, they're interested, A, and B, they care, they're interested, and they want you to succeed. And I think the butterflies are good. That's part of me showing up and being present here. And, it's not a bad thing. And I love, love, love. Hey, Zach. I love being live. I love being able to connect with people. I love the format of being able to say hi to Zach in the moment. So yes, I love that. And reframing is really important. We're in charge of our thoughts, and we get to decide if we are going to put that in the positive, or if we are going to feel like we're drowning. And I don't feel like I'm drowning. I feel like, um, I'm very excited to be here, and I feel like there are so many opportunities. And I put in the comment like so many new friends, so many new people to meet. I love it.
Yeah, so many. And it's like, it's interesting.
Thank
There's
you,
a book I read a
Jill.
few years ago called The Upside of Stress.
Mhm.
And the Kelly McGonigal is a professor out of Stanford. And one of the things that she says is, she says that stress is what arises when something we care about is at stake.
That's true. I agree. Right? If I didn't care, I wouldn't feel nervous about doing it. I wouldn't take care of it. I wouldn't, there's a healthy amount of what we label stress. Maybe that's the thing is I just need to rename it as motivation. That's
Yeah.
my motivation. That's my feeling of being motivated.
Yeah. And like, I'm feeling alive. Like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm feeling like I'm like, my feelings are amplified. I'm alive, right? Like,
Yes.
I'm electric. Let's go. So it's just like, how do we reframe this stuff?
Yes.
You know?
Perfect. See, and that's like exactly why you're the perfect person to say these things to. A totally different, you are that woman that always inspires me, with that smile and that honesty to keep going and remind myself of some really important things that I think a lot of us, no matter how aware we are, how much we've grown, that we can forget.
Yeah.
So I thank you for that every day, every time you post, every time I hear that laugh, that voice, all of it. And Daniel, thank you.
Aw, look at
Thank
that.
you.
Like,
Thank you.
amazing. Like,
Yeah,
you are
that's,
somebody that people trust and come to and share their hard stories that they've never, in some cases, like really ever shared publicly.
yeah,
That's powerful.
yeah.
Like,
That's, it's a gift. It's a privilege, honestly,
yeah.
to have people share things that they've never shared with anyone else before. Um, and to be with them when they have that aha moment that their story is powerful and life changing, not only for them and the ways that it's helped them grow and having gratitude for the journey, but how that moment where they realize that they have something important to share that's impactful and is going to change, like it's going to change the world.
Yeah.
And we all think of like changing the world like, oh my gosh, one huge great big shift, but it's not. Typically it doesn't happen like that. I was saying yesterday I had my show Connected Human Conversations, and afterwards I was talking to my guest Gabby Hall. Dan was referring to his daughter Gabby, and I said when I came on the platform I was going to be the woman who changed the narrative on sexual abuse. And she very lovely said, but you are. And I said, but I also knew I was never going to be able to do it alone. It was a legion of voices that were going to do it. And so if I, by sharing my story, have inspired one other person to share their story and so on and so forth, right?
Yeah.
What a huge change I've made in the world. And each and every one of us is capable of doing that. We all have that incredible power within us.
Yes. Yes. Like, amen to that. Like, so well said. And we're going to talk about that. And we just want to also caveat for the groups. Hey, 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 Zach gets it.
Yep.
Haha. Right? Being unmuted in the moment. And, yeah, way too nervous, anxious. Nice to hear you can flip it. You can totally flip it. Like, I'm excited. Reinterpret. You get to tell your brain what to think, Like, So, oh, look what Daniel said. I've never seen our daughter shine so bright or radiate real until after your show last night, Nancy. Like, I mean, talk about purpose. Hi.
Mm,
So, like, huge purpose. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do. Oh, and okay, Toby, we have to say that
yes,
because
Toby,
Toby.
that
uh, Do you want to
exactly
say
it.
that, Nancy? I know, like,
Yes. The joy in the eyes of someone who has discovered the magic of being loved in the moment. And I'm going to add to that, Toby, it's that magic of being loved for exactly who you are, like that unmuted, unmasked self. And
yes.
being witness to that is, yeah, it's a gift and a privilege for sure.
Gift. Yeah, so we're going to talk about that, and just a heads up for those that are, joining us today, that there's going to be some sensitive content that's discussed because, I mean, hey, when you're unmuting yourself, like you're talking about stuff that's typically muted or that's silenced or that we're not allowed to talk about or we're not supposed to talk about. And so, we just encourage you. Nancy said that in her show last night. We talked about being willing to sit with the discomfort. So the conversation we're having today, like if you have little ears nearby, would be the time to be like, hey, little one, let's go do something else. And then, or put earphones in or something like headphones in. Just a heads up. We like to kind of make that disclaimer on the front end of the conversation. And what I'd love to do just to kind of this is something else that I think helps us to reframe and shift. So there's certain emotions that send us on an upward spiral of energy. And so when we engage in those emotions like joy and passion and connection and gratitude and appreciation, we engage in those, we like literally opened up our mind and our ability to connect and to create and to imagine. And then there's other emotions that send us on a downward spiral. So things like despair or frustration or disappointment or anger, and it makes us feel more constricted. And so what we're going to do now is something that we invite everyone who's with us right now to join us in the comments. And we're going to do an exercise that we haven't done here on the show that I like to do in some of the workshops I do called 3 Good Things. And this is an evidence-based practice where it's used a lot in healthcare, and it's used. There's been some work, quite a bit of research in how this has positively affected folks in healthcare, as a way to help to retrain the brain. And so, what 3 Good Things is, the practice, is you think about what are 3 good things. It's typically that have happened in the past 24 hours. And if we want, since we're coming off a weekend, we can just say, what are 3 good things that have happened in the past 48 hours? So, for instance, and let us know in the comments, what's something in your life, some good thing that has happened in your life in the past 48 hours. It can be anything, no matter how small, Like if you were sitting at a coffee table with a colleague and you were just catching up, like what's a thing that you would share about something you're grateful for? So I might say, for instance, we celebrated my aunt and uncle's 52nd wedding anniversary in Albany, New York on Saturday, 52 years of
Beautiful.
marriage.
Wow.
And I got to see family members I haven't seen in over a decade, like cousins. And then we drove home yesterday and we're at a wedding at a winery for one of my husband's former coworkers. So it was just like the juxtaposition of like a wedding, with
Uh-huh.
52-year marriage and the opportunity to see family and be together and socialize and laugh and cry. It was such a life-giving weekend. So those might be examples: being with family, being at a wedding, and like dancing and laughing. Super highlights. So feel free to, what comes to mind for you, Nancy?
Oh gosh, a couple of things. And the first that comes to mind is the show yesterday with Gabby. Gabby Hall shared for the first time. She's this brave, heroic, miraculous 22-year-old young woman who went through so much to be where she is today. And she, for the first time, shared her story and on the show last night, and it was incredible. She inspired others. A person shared in the comment a bit of their story because she was sharing, and she now wants to be sharing her story more. So, hey, all you show hosts that are out there looking for content that is like Rachel's and mine, that's real, and things that maybe we don't talk about but need to be talked about, or just want to spotlight amazing humans. Gabriella Hall, man, she did an amazing job last night. She brought me to tears. I was so proud of her. I also cleaned out my closet, which I know may not sound like a huge thing, but you guys, when you live in the chaos of your closet being so overstuffed, Or you go to try something on, like wear something and it doesn't fit, and how that makes you feel. Like for me, a closet clean out is a great spring activity. It just makes me feel like everything's in order, everything's ready to go. Things run and flow more smoothly for me when that is organized. And there's a couple of things. I'm doing a 30-day video challenge. Again, for someone who's live all the time, you might be thinking, oh, a 30-day video, but it's challenging, man. Each of us have those places where we really excel in one place, and maybe because we excel in that one place, you don't see the other places where we struggle. But man, this is a great growing opportunity for me. Give me live any day, give me video, and I am like suddenly like, oh, I don't know who Nancy Barrows, who is she? Who are you talking to? So it's been a lot of great. That's 3 things. I could tell you many more, because this weekend I also prioritized self-care. Closet was one of them, and sitting and reading my book for an hour yesterday in the sunlight in the chair in my room that I love. So yeah, I'm going to stop because I'll keep going and going and going. But there are terribly, yeah, there's, you know what the reality is, there's so much good in every day if we allow ourselves to see it.
Yes. Say that again.
There is so much good in every day if we allow ourselves to see it.
Yes, there
Yeah.
is. Like Stevie saying, quality time
Yes.
with Saturday and Sunday with my teenage son. Like quality time with teenagers is like hard to
It's like
come
a
by.
teenager that wants to spend time with you. Wow.
Like teach
Good
us your
job.
ways.
A good friend dinner. Yes, that's another amazing way just to connect with people. I think a lot of the things that are good are places where people are connecting with one another,
Yes.
and or really engaging in mindful, purposeful self-care.
Yes.
Like not just incidental, like it just happened, but like they make a plan and they stick to it. Yes, Maria. Maria, I saw your conversation between your family. You posted about the car wash and the cute surfer boy next door, and I had a smile ear to ear. I love when people share about themselves, and what we may consider mundane, right? Like,
Yeah.
oh, it's just our everyday life, but everyday life is where it's at.
Yeah. Agreed.
Everyday life is where it's at.
Agreed. It's those miracle
Yeah.
moments. Oh my gosh, Margot, we watched that too. Had fun watching
Yeah.
Bad Vegan. It's a documentary. It's like this documentary about a restaurant in New York that went under. So,
Uh, Mark,
95.
that's a beautiful thing. Congratulations. Mazel tov.
Wow. How about that, Zach? And Zach is like Zach is always here, so consistent. Zach, we love you. Had lunch or dinner with each of my 3 kids and grandkids, healthy and energetic to do yard work all day Saturday. Great uplifting conversation. Needed to hear from over the phone. Who lives in the West? Wow. Like, okay, let's keep it coming. Sleep in a little bit this
Sleep.
morning. That
Yay.
is Nancy. I mean, like this, Jill lives near me. Like we're like a half hour from each other. So I totally get just the value of, yeah, like being able to
Hi,
sleep
Jill. Nice
in.
to
And
meet you.
Jason woke up this morning. Amen. Like we take that for granted, right? We're like, oh,
I
hey, some
get
people
to.
didn't wake up this morning.
Right. It's the I get to, right? It's
Yes.
I get to wake up. I get to go to work. And I know there are days that I'm like, "Ugh, I get to go to work." But the reality is, right? I tell people all the time that gratitude practice, when you are really struggling and you're in that really dark place, the where I start is I'm so overwhelmed. I can't handle another thing. So I'm grateful that my body knows to breathe without me thinking about it. My heart
Mm,
beat without me having to think about it. Like all these things that happen,
yeah.
right? Without me having to put any effort or thought into, especially when I'm in that place where everything is overwhelmed. So yes, getting up, feeling the sun, right? Hearing the laughter. Those are all things we get to do. They're such privileges that sometimes when we're going about our day, we don't even realize that we are celebrating.
Yes, and what Toby said too. Toby is a woman of faith, and I know that she's been just such a source of encouragement for me. We met each other 4 years ago
Hmm.
before I left my job, and so sharing the gospel as a liturgist at church yesterday with humor and joy.
There you go.
Like just to feel that sense of that's aliveness, humor and joy. I feel like we feel like like most alive when we're in that state of laughter and joy. So wonderful. Making it to this episode, Robert, dude,
Yes,
working.
nice to meet you, Robert. There's so many people here. Thank you for being here. I am so excited to be connecting with these amazing quality humans.
Yes.
6-year-old Sesame Place. Oh my gosh. So,
So fun. You
I
unmuted this
unmute.
wolf pup in 2019. Well, congrats.
Woo, good job.
Heyo. Angela, knowing I've done well by my kids, my son and I are watching a movie together and wanted to create a Google slideshow for me showing me how much he loves me. Stop it. Oh my gosh,
Ah.
Angela. I just I just can't even. We're gonna say this one last comment, and then Nancy, I'm gonna ask you for your muted to unmuted story. So Bernadette,
Yes.
my husband asked me to go on a walk. 38 years of marriage. What? And I don't think he's ever done that. Can I say this? It was foreplay.
You
Hey,
can say
unmute your
this.
life. Unmute your life,
You
Bernadette.
absolutely can. And everyone out there that's thinking like, I don't know what I can do to bring the spark back, do something you've never done before, that
Yes.
asks to go for the walk or, whatever it is. We each and all have our things that would create that moment for us, where it's like, wow, we've not done this before. You're thinking, oh, hello, Brian
Yes.
Schulman and Bridget.
Yay.
Thank you for being here. I appreciate
Oh,
you. She is living and starting to live an unmuted life, and I'm so proud of her and watching her do that, and celebrate her steps along the way. That she's
that's
celebrating her own steps, so
yeah.
that's huge.
Amazing, amazing. So, what we want to do now is I want to hear your story. I know you have a really compelling story, and one that I know for a long time was something that was hard to share, scary to share, not even an option to share.
Exactly.
And I think all of us have a version of a story that we're like, if people knew that about me, like all of us
Hmm.
have a version of something that we're like, well, if people knew that, and then we tell ourselves a story about all of the horrible things that are unfolded, if people really knew us and really knew the thing about us that might be really hard and uncomfortable for us to share. And so I would just love to hear what your story has been of an area of your life where you were muted or you silenced this thing and then you found the courage to unmute yourself. So tell us your unmuted story, Nancy.
I absolutely am thrilled to. So, you're 1,000% right, Rachel. I had this story, this piece of me that it wasn't even an option to share. Like keeping the secret felt to me as if my life depended on it. And there's no easy way to deliver my story. I will say to everyone, receive it how you receive it. There is no judgment from me by any means, because I felt everything that you could possibly feel. But I was sexually abused by my grandfather until I was 16 years old. And at that time, a mandated reporter, which I had no idea existed. I didn't know there were laws. I didn't know anything around this other than it was my secret to keep. And because it had gone on for so long, that I carried so much guilt and shame that, like, I was 16, I knew it was wrong. I knew it was wrong well before then. And because I had allowed it to go on, I was as guilty as he was. I was as much to blame. Um, which is not uncommon, even if it hasn't gone on until you're 16 years old, right? People will say, well, why didn't you tell? Why didn't you say no? Those options never occurred to me. The only option I saw for myself was to keep my grandfather happy, and that would keep everything sort of quiet, bottled up, and going. Going as usual, which was not great, but I knew how to live with that. And it wasn't, you know, I have shared my story with people in my life face to face. It's not something that, over time I got better at it. When it first came out, I didn't. I remember trying to tell people for the first time. When I first went to therapy, I literally moved the couch away from the wall and sat behind the couch to talk to my therapist because I could not tolerate looking at her. But the worst part of it was that she was going to be looking at me while I said these things. And like you said, those moments of like, what's your biggest fear? Well, I was certain that when people found out that this had been happening, that they would be disgusted by me, that they would run from me, that they would pity me, that something fundamentally about how they saw me and how our relationship functioned would shift in a way that could never be repaired. And so, I over time, I mean, I was anorexic for years. I dropped out of college after confronting my grandfather, experienced my first of many major depressive episodes at age 20. I still struggle with depression today. I'm happy to say that I have a healthy relationship with food and a healthy relationship with sex. There you go, Bernadette, right? These are important parts of being a full, healthy human. But depression is the thing that sticks with me. And if you would have asked my 20-year-old self, I would have thought I would have always identified with the weight of being a sexual abuse survivor, and that I was broken beyond repair. So I'm going to fast forward, but lots of work in between, lots of different masks worn to fit in life. And the first unmuted moment was I was at UCLA, and there were 3 women I met, and individually felt compelled to tell them who I really was. They were women that I loved, and I saw their hearts. Candace Thornton Spann, Raquel Boris, and Courtney Franklin. All are here on LinkedIn somewhere. You can find them. But I felt compelled to share myself with them because I knew that I could only be so close with them if I didn't. And these were women whose hearts, like, just, we've all had that experience. You meet that person, and you know there's a place within both of you that's been looking for the other. And so I shared with them, and they gave me the biggest gifts of my life. And I told them, and nothing changed. Nothing changed. In fact, Raquel will say that, like, it's like she doesn't even think it's a big deal, kind of thing, in the most positive of ways. Like, oh yeah, you told me, but like, I already knew you and loved you and that kind of thing. And so that's a huge part, and we'll get to, which has propelled me in finding my purpose now and what I do in terms of radiating real and the chick with the tool belt, and getting out there and using my voice and speaking about my experience for those who can't yet do that. But this story that we're talking about right now, this unmuted moment that's been sort of this ongoing amazing moment in my life, started in November 2020. At the end of the month, I was on LinkedIn for about a week. Raquel had introduced me, and everyone was amazing, as LinkedIn family does. Hi, welcome, yes, connect, let's do this, great. And a week later, I was on a live 24-hour telethon event that was raising money for a platform that was all about connection over convenience, right? Really getting into these places where I say, I know people are uncomfortable hearing about my abuse, but please stick with it the best you can, because this is how we make this disappear. We make it so that there are no more quote unquote victims that have to go from surviving to thriving these experiences. But I was talking about my childhood trauma, and it hit me like mid-sentence. And I think you might even be able to see it when you watch the video, where all of a sudden I was like, Nancy, you're part of the problem. If I was unwilling to say that I was sexually abused by my grandfather, how could I expect anyone else to talk about it? Right? This is my personal experience. I know it inside out and backwards. And if I can't say it, how am I expecting other people to want to broach this subject? So since then, very similar to Gabby, I've been telling my story as often as I can. I am, I am on shows, I'm in my posts, I'm in conversations, anywhere, honestly, anywhere I can. And if you are a show host, I will shamelessly put this out there, have me on your show. Like, I found my passion and purpose when I opened my mouth and told my story fully for the first time and took off my mask. And that at 78, sorry, not yet, God willing, 48 years old, decided I was taking off my mask, and that I was 100% going to live 100% real 100% of the time. And it's been transformative for me. And that's why, like, I'm so compelled to help other people do it, because I know, like, my life was great. My life was like, but this is next level to be able to show up as yourself, remove imposter syndrome, not worry about being judged. And it's really about having received that unconditional love and that unconditional acceptance, those fears that you have of sharing your story and what's going to happen. And what has happened is I found the passion and the journey I was always meant to take. And in talking with people, I realized that I do have this gift of making people feel comfortable and supported, and it allows them to find their voice and take their mask off and really show up. And as I was doing this myself, there were so many comments about how real, how authentic, how honest, how brave. And it made me realize that people are saying that because it doesn't happen very often. There's not enough of it. And that's where Radiating Real came out of, the hashtag Radiating Real campaign. And that was all about, hey, show up, masks off. It originally started with the second you wake up, take a selfie, take a picture, post it, radiate real, tell how hard it was to put that picture up there. Be honest, be real, and allow yourself to receive all that unconditional love and acceptance. Like we said earlier, people care about your story, they care about you, and they want to see you succeed. In the process, I've learned about the power of personal content, like you said, the power of community. I have learned in myself this ability that I didn't realize I had to see what other people want to achieve, and having a very clear vision and being able to help them share that vision and actually move from like awareness to action in that. And that's really what the chick with the tool belt is all about. I don't call myself a coach. I have the utmost respect for coaches, but I am more of like a Sherpa. Like, I'm journeying with people who have been wanting to, whether it's tell their story or show up in a different way, or just, start to be themselves in the world, to find what's already inside of them and find their voice and what's comfortable and how they want to express it to the world. There's the journey continues today. I'm still doing all of this. This unmuted moment is still happening. And you alluded to earlier, being named one of the top 50 most impactful people of LinkedIn, which still blows my mind. I'm still learning to receive that.
And it was peer-based. It was basically, the question was put out there of like, who do you see as most influential? And because of how you show up so consistently for other people in a meaningful way, you came to their mind right away. And so it was a numbers game, truly. And kudos.
And that's the thing. It's a numbers game in terms of the number of hearts and souls that you touch. Yes. Not how many people are commenting on your post. And, I had 2,500 followers. I maybe have 207. So, 2,700 now. Sure. It's not huge numbers that have a huge impact. It's the huge heart that's willing to be there and be out there that has the huge impact. And I love the story. Yes, I'm humbled by the honor, but it really is a story of, I had come onto LinkedIn and was full force. I was doing, the 2 live shows that I do now, one of which was 4 hours. I was doing my own live show. I was doing a second live show as a co-host. I was posting, I was commenting, I was watching, I was showing up, and I got totally burnt out about 6 months into it. And so for the second half of that year, that's when I gave myself permission to show up, be consistently inconsistent. And even having pulled way back, people still remembered how I helped them, how I made them feel, how when I showed up, it was meaningful to people. It resonated with people. And so while I relish the title, what I relish most about it is the Cinderella story that goes with it. That is the lesson that anyone, in fact, everyone, can have a huge impact. Everyone can be making people feel this way. Everyone can be recognized for who they are and the beauty within that. And that to me is just, you want to know why I show up, right? That's why I show up. And that's why I show up all the ways I am as a human. If you've heard me speak before, you've heard me say the ugly, unsexy, snotty moments. Like those are the ones that I think are actually even more important to be sharing, because if I saw me today telling my story and I was my 20-year-old self going through this, I would have flipped me off and thought, you have no clue. You are not the one who can't get out of bed, living in your parents' house, haven't showered in a week. You look at you, right? You're on the other side. You don't, and if you don't talk about what it took to get there, it's very easy for people to feel alone
Yes.
feel like they're doing it wrong. This internal report card that we have where we compare ourselves. And I say this all with the caveat of I'm not immune to any of it.
Right.
Right? It's not like you get somewhere, this mental health place or this confidence place of confidence, and you get a plaque and you hang it on the wall and you are done. And the rest of it's easy from there on out.
Right.
I struggle with all of these things. I struggle
Yes.
with them like everyone else. And those are the moments really where I try to show up when I don't want to,
Yeah.
because I know how alone I felt, and I know how broken beyond repair and beyond help, and all of so many things
Yes.
when I was going through all of it, that I need people to know that that happened. But I need people to know that even today, there are days where I have to push myself,
Mm-hmm.
check my narrative,
Mm-hmm.
take a break, ask someone else to tell me they love me and why.
Yes. Yes. It's not selfish to do that. We think sometimes we're like, oh, if I did that, oh, I'm being so self-serving. No, that's actually a really healthy thing to do with somebody that knows you well, to say, hey, I just need like a personal pep talk right now. And you're someone that knows me really well. And having those people, Brene Brown refers to as your square squad, who are the people whose
Mm-hmm.
names fit on a 1 by 1 inch piece of paper, whose opinions matter most to you. Because so often we spend time worrying about people whose opinions like actually don't matter at the end of the day, but we just like tell ourselves they do. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
whose opinions really matter to you? Who has earned the right to
Right.
speak into your life because of how you have shown up for them and how they've shown up for you?
Right.
Like, and the way that you show up for people, I mean, I think just that's how we got connected. I mean, we've spent, I don't know, dozens of hours on lives together just because of you're always such an encouragement. And it's always like, oh, Rachel, sing. And I always just feel so seen and supported by you, and just invited. I feel like invited, I think, is a word that comes up for me. And all of us want to feel invited. Like all of us, from the time we're like 5, we want to be invited to the party. And
Right. And
it's,
for me, it's making people feel seen, heard, and valued.
yes, likewise. Yeah,
That's
we are like
bare minimum. Yeah, I know that
bare
I think I
minimum.
told you the first time we talked that you're my spirit animal. But it's the bare minimum that we're seen, heard, and valued.
The bare minimum. Because if we
Bare.
don't feel seen, heard, and valued, vulnerability does not become possible. Like there's something you might find interesting, Nancy. There's a book I'm reading called Prayer in the Night. It was something our church was doing a sermon series on, and there was a phrase in the book that was talking about the root of the word vulnerable, and how the root of the word vulnerable means woundable. Like we're opening ourselves up for the chance that we might be wounded by what we share. Oh, and look at Toby. Toby is like
I know.
just
Toby got
the
this mic.
best.
Toby is that person who I say we all have knowledge, and when you share it, it becomes wisdom.
Yes.
So, Toby, you are full of amazing wisdom. Thank you for sharing it.
Yeah, she is. And every time she comments on something, so she works for an engineering firm, and every time, and she's an artist and does speaking as well and whatnot. And every time she comments on something, I'm like, all right, I got to make sure that I have at least like 2 minutes, more like 5, to thoughtfully read this, read it again,
Mm-hmm.
reflect on it, and then give a response worthy of the comment that was given. So, um, I'm muted back. I mean, with Rachel Beck, we talked about rescue animals, and that was like her. Oh my gosh, Rachel shared her little pup, and so now we have spirit
Yes,
animals. Like,
yes, spirit animal, spirit people. And you're like, you were saying vulnerability is opening yourself to being wounded. Who are you willing to, right?
yeah,
And it's two ways. It's being able to open yourself out to being wounded, but not to people off of that 1 by 1 square, right?
right, right, right.
Because people are always there's always going to be someone who tells you you're doing it wrong or could
Mm-hmm.
be doing it better or should shut up for that matter, right?
Oh
Just
yeah.
plain old just shut up.
Mm-hmm.
But do are those the opinions that matter, or is it the people who maybe don't say anything? And I'm not going to say maybe, it's the people who don't say anything, who haven't yet found their voice to even thank you.
Yes.
Those are the people that we are, making ourselves vulnerable for. But also when we make ourselves vulnerable, what we get from that, it's
Mm.
vulnerability is a superpower.
Yeah.
It's one of the hugest signs of strength to me. And I'm gonna put this out there for everyone who's listening now, live or in replay. I'm gonna challenge you to email 2 or 3 friends and do it through email because I want you to have it to look back and read on. And I did this and asked those people who would be on that 1-by-1 square, like, why are you friends with me? How do you see me? What have I added to your life? Kind of thing. And take in what they say and hold on to it for those days where you have lost your due north.
Yeah.
It's a powerful thing, and it brought so many tears. And because it came from people and places, their hearts and souls that I knew really cared and loved me for who I was, I
Yeah.
took it in a completely different way. And that was a great way to show me, like, how does something meaningful and that speaks directly to your soul really feel versus the stuff that we can deflect, that
Yes.
it's a flesh wound, and we nope, doesn't get my energy,
Yes.
kind of thing. It was a very powerful thing, that exercise that I engaged in. So I encourage other people to try it out, and then let me know how it goes. Hey, I'd love to hear.
Yes. And like that's how I dropped an article, a LinkedIn post that, so it's totally dovetail with what you're talking about, Nancy. I think it was in February I might have shared this about 6 questions to find clarity and confidence. And one of them was a version of that where I invited people to share, hey, what shows up when I do? What qualities do I bring into a room? And that was my friend Lori Raggio asked me those questions 4 years ago and then challenged me to reach out to like 10, 12, 15 people in my life and ask them those questions. And I kept an inventory and I still have it. I call it my essence words. And I have it as a saved file. And it's like a page and a half of all of these things that people that know me, people I've worked with. So you can think about this, people that you're, family, it could be friends, it could be colleagues, it could be coaches, it could be mentors. It could be teachers, professors, a neighbor. Like, it's a pretty wide spectrum of people. And then when you start to hear these consistent things that people are saying back to you, it's kind of harder to argue with it, because it's like, they're not just saying that to be nice. Like,
Right.
this is thematically true across my life, across multiple relationships, of what would happen if I actually believed it.
Right. It's funny because people have asked me, like, how are you confident in terms of body image, having come from being anorexic? And at some point, I had to stop listening to myself and believing myself, and believe the people around me who love me
Yeah.
about how I looked and if I was healthy. It's like, it's this major shift. And I will say today, I will look at myself in the mirror and I will not like the way I look, quote unquote. And we all have those moments, right? Where I stop myself. I'm like, okay, totally untrue. Walk away from the mirror. The mirror is not defining you. Like, that's done. Like, stop. If looking in the mirror makes you feel that way, then walk away from the mirror.
Yes. Yes. Not my judge. Thank you. Bye.
Yeah, exactly. Not needed. Thank you. And by the way, I have a file on my computer that's NDB, Nancy Deborah Barrows, happy. And it contains all of that kind of stuff. It's people I've asked, it's people who have said things unprompted. I've had people in comments on posts, or just say amazing unsolicited things.
Yes.
And that's the truth, because people don't have to say anything. So if they choose to take the time to tell you something, reflect back to you how they see you, it is true, honest, and genuine to the core.
Yes.
And I take those little screenshots and I put them in NDB happy, because, again, really, am I smarter than all of these people? Do I have the arrogance to believe that I know better than all of these people? It's kind of like a little like, hey, Nance, check your ego, right?
Yeah.
Kind of thing. But those have been things that have been successful for me. So I love sharing them. And if they help someone else, great. If not, and if you have something that you do, please share it with us. I'm always looking for other great ways to, overflow my joy bucket. So I'm open to anyone's ideas on how to do that.
Yes.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah,
That's
so
why
Toby. So I've shared this before. I'm going to share it again. This is Toby's artwork. So this is
it's beautiful, Toby.
What happened was I took a picture of a hibiscus at a Father's Day luncheon last year with my husband's family. And I posted on LinkedIn with just a comment about taking a moment to pause and notice beautiful things, or I don't even know what the post was about. She took the picture off of my LinkedIn post. And we've been connected and then she created
Oh my
a
gosh.
card based on that and sent me a packet of these cards with envelopes that she made herself. Like,
They're beautiful. And honestly, the colors, like I can, Toby, from your comments and your art, like your heart is palpable. Like you can feel your heart. I love that about you. Thank you for sharing that. That's amazing, right? I'm a person who sends cards still,
yes,
like
you
in
do.
the mail. Because I think it says something, Toby, exactly what you did for Rachel is taking the time, right? It's stopping and taking the time to do it.
Yeah.
And in your case, Toby, making the card for me, I'm like, at least I might stop at Dollar Tree and pick up a card, but like making the card, taking the time to write it, finding a stamp, putting it in the mail. I just think that whether or not people realize it when they receive it, so much energy is coming along with that card or note that I'm
Yes.
sending that was all focused on them.
Yes. And that would be another challenge maybe for folks. Hey, take a moment. I'm a big on handwritten notes too. I like always have stuff. So we talked about spirit animals. Peacocks are my spirit animal. So I've
Yes.
got these little peacock notes. So like think about somebody that you could send a card to this week, that somebody like, who doesn't like getting something other than junk mail? 90% of the mail I get is total garbage that literally ends up from the mailbox to the recycling.
Yes.
So like you could be a bright spot in someone's week just by taking 5 minutes. Like next time you're in
Mm-hmm.
the grocery store, like you don't have to go out of your way. Like next time you go to the store, grab a card, come home, pull up an address on your phone, or even text somebody and ask them for their address. You don't have to tell them
Yeah.
why, and then drop it in the mail. Like this is not, to your point, this stuff. It's the intentionality behind it. It's not like any of this stuff takes all that long to
No.
do.
Mm-mm. And honestly, if you go to Dollar Tree, it's 50 cents a card. And however, a forever stamp costs these days, that's what it costs me. And
Yeah,
the value of it
yeah.
is so much greater. And I wish I could move you over to my fridge, which is covered
Mm.
with handwritten notes people have written me, and I
Yeah.
keep, and they rotate on and off. I have a box, they rotate on and off. So I will bring back old ones, I will put up new ones, but there's just, yeah, something to being thought of
Yeah.
in a way that doesn't happen frequently. So, yes.
I love that. Angela says, well, it's funny because I can move my camera. So hold on, this might make everyone a little sick for a second. But
Uh
I have that board you can see on the wall there.
huh.
I have cards that are there. Like my mom gave me one that said, I only wish you could see what I see in you.
Mm,
Like cute tears.
wow.
And just thoughtful cards people have sent me in difficult seasons or for a birthday or whatever. And I have them up there as like reminders. We're so glad you love this. So,
Heidi, yay.
yay.
And the thing is, if you do it for someone, they'll likely do it for someone else. Because we know when somebody's
Yeah.
done something nice for us, I'm like, oh my gosh, that felt amazing. Who can I do this for? Who, like,
Yeah.
how can and especially when it's something, I go to Dollar Tree. Again, shout out to Dollar Tree. You guys can do it anywhere. Trader Joe's has 99-cent cards. You can buy packs online, whatever you want. But I will
Yeah.
go to Dollar Tree and I actually have an accordion folder
Uh-huh.
and I have cards for all occasions: birthday, anniversary, get well, cheer, thinking of you, blank, whatever it is. And that thing is stuffed. I buy the package of thank you notes that come in like 8, but
Yeah.
I always have something on hand.
Yes. Yes.
So
It's
one step further is you can eliminate one of the steps that might be keeping you from doing it.
yeah, exactly. Like get the book of stamps. So that way
Yes.
you have a bunch of them. Like don't just buy individual
Costco.
stamps. Get a book of
Yes.
20. Like start with an address you already have. Like start with
Right.
somebody who you already have an address for, so you don't have to text them, which takes no time at all.
Yes.
But start with somebody you already have an address for. Like the less friction there is for any behavior. Really great book, by the way, about that topic of habits is called Atomic Habits by James Clear.
Yes.
The more we reduce friction, the more likely you are to do something.
Yes.
So like go out, stock up on the thing. So it's like at the moment, oh, I've got that right there. Oh, I've got my stamps too. Oh, I already have their address. 5 minutes later, done. And Jason said 5 minutes from memory that could last a lifetime.
Yes.
Like who here,
Yes.
drop in the chat, drop in the comments, who here has ever saved a note? You can say I have, or you can say note saver.
Oh, I have boxes of stuff. I keep trying to tell myself, like, oh, the memory's in your mind. But there's something about having that handwritten note that I can't toss those.
Yeah.
And listen, once you take the first baby step, I will apologize in advance for your accordion folder and your 20, whatever, your book stamps from Costco's or BJ's that you end up having on hand, because that's what happens. And I actually did it as a gift for someone. I did it actually for my sister-in-law, who was always like, "You're so great about sending cards. You're so great about sending cards." I said, "Let me tell you, hey, Jason's a note saver." Yes. Hashtag note saver. Jill's a note saver. I love it.
Oh,
Um,
Vicky.
Vicky, special box in her car. Oh my gosh. I've done that. I have a pad and paper in my car, and I will leave notes on people's cars.
I love it.
Typically people I know, but I've done it for people I don't know. Like, so when they come out of work or come out of wherever we are, they get a little note that
I
was
love
like, "So
that.
great spending time with you," or "Hope you had an amazing day." But for my sister-in-law, I created for our family and friends an accordion folder by month for birthdays. And I bought birthday cards, and in the corner where the stamp would go, I put the date that she needed to send them out so that she could, like, she so badly wanted to do it, but like you say, frictionless, right?
Yeah,
She so
yeah.
badly wanted to do it. And then once you do it, it's like, okay, I have a system for how I can do this for next year. I'll just go and buy some cards and it'll be ready to go. So
Yes.
there you go. Congratulations. You've now become not only a note saver, but, you know, a card and stamp hoarder that's going to share them with the world.
Exactly. I love that. And we save this stuff, right, Angela? I have all of my mom's letters that she sent me since I
Mhm.
went away to college
Yes.
all the way to now. Like if anyone wants other ideas too, like I save, it's funny, I had a journal right next to me.
Mhm.
In my journals, I will tape cards that people send me.
Where's my
Um,
calendar? There's notes in there that just
it's
get, yep.
Yeah, it's like Vicky sent me a really beautiful one. Vicky is a chief joy officer. Vicky's fantastic.
Yay.
And like this was when I had my car accident last year. Someone sent me a get well soon note and dropped off a smoothie at my house. I remember she dropped by, you know, just so kind,
Yes.
like
Toby,
Toby's got an
you have
idea.
just brought my game to a whole another level, man. This is
Wow,
I
look at that.
and Toby, you know what I do for my friends with kids? I send Halloween cards and Valentine's Day cards. And again, I go to Dollar Tree, buy the pack, and I
Yeah.
send them every year. They're just to the kids, addressed to the kids. It's for them, so they get mail.
I love that. So this is about so like full circle is unmuting your intentionality and your gratitude and your thoughtfulness because goodness knows life is hard and life has been particularly hard in different ways for everybody in the past 2 years. And
Hmm.
like we need these moments to like to sustain us and to keep us going, to know that somebody cares, to know that somebody sees us and values us, and to know that we're not alone in whatever we're going through. And these are tangible ways to do that.
Yeah.
So it's just
And I think there's a lot of people out there in terms of unmuting who would like to say something nice or do something nice. And whatever it is that keeps us from saying it or doing it, again, sometimes we're worried about how it's going to be received or like, oh, is this going to be offensive or, which I have, I will say in 49 years, never offered kindness, a smile or a friendly word to someone that wasn't appreciated.
yeah.
I actually had an experience this weekend, which should be on my top good things, where I was running in and out of the mall, and I actually had to run in and out a couple of times because I forgot to do a few things, which is pretty typical for me. But there were people trying to gather petition signatures, and the first time I was like, no, 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 the both, and the way out, the guy remembered me. He's like, and I came back like the second or third time, and yeah, exactly, like how can I time my walking so that he catches the person in front of me and I can, and this whole effort to avoid another human, and it just it light bulb went off. It's like, gosh, like I don't have to sign what they're, but I could stop and talk to this human being, right? Who's out here doing their thing. And I stopped and talked. The guy had a great shirt on about, people who are kind are his kind of people.
Mm-hmm.
We both need, right? Great. I needed
Yeah.
that mass produced. And I started talking to him. And it turns out he stutters. I heard it in his speech, and I'm a speech pathologist. And so I stopped and said, yeah, exactly, universe. I said, I hope it's okay if I ask you, do you have a fluency disorder? He goes, oh, I've stuttered my whole life. And we started to have this conversation about how, look at what he's doing. I mean, he'd been in sales before that, but you are stopping people you don't know, who don't want to be stopped. You have to get it out in a split second to try and get their attention. And you stutter on top of all of that, right? Like that is a huge pressure cooker situation for someone with a fluency disorder. And he's doing it. He loves people. He loves what he does. And his fluency, his stuttering, I kept saying to him, I said, like, it's gorgeous. Like you stutter forward. Like kept like, he didn't let it stop his message. He didn't let it interrupt his wanting to communicate. He just, and this is Charles from Chicago. He just kept going forward. You'll see it. It's one of the videos that I'm going to post in the 30-day challenge. It was supposed to be today, so you've got a preview. But again, I spent so much energy dodging this human, right? Where there was a conversation that was meant for both of us to engage in and walk away feeling pretty freaking good about afterwards.
Yes.
And so it's just those moments where I've had it where I hesitate to say something nice to someone, and it's sort of like, what's that about? But at the same time, again, in 49 years of sharing my heart, my kindness, and, words of encouragement, I have never had someone say, I wish you didn't do that.
Yes.
I really wish you hadn't done that.
It's what you're saying. There's a book that Dan Pink just came out with recently called The Power of Regret. And he says often one of the greatest regrets that we have are failures of kindness. That's one of the things that I regret not being kinder. I regret not reaching out. I like to say the phrase, don't hesitate, initiate. So when you have that moment of like, take action, that you're here for a reason. You're in this moment, with this person, at this time, at this place, for a reason. Be open to being inspired.
Right.
Like, just be open to being inspired.
Yeah, again, I couldn't have told you that this was going to happen.
Yeah.
And that it took me 3 times in and out, right? To go like, okay, look at the man's shirt. Stop and talk to him.
Kind people are my kind of people. Bye.
That's why I'm like, I don't see you. You're invisible. I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, so that was amazing. Dimitri, I see you're in the 30-day video challenge. Congratulations. I am doing it too. And I shared in a post, I was able to say yes. Another great one, you guys, and not only because I know that it worked for me. I gave myself permission to mess it up, to screw it up, to get it wrong. Like 30 days of videos every day. Okay. Guess what? You're probably going to miss at least one. Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
But you'll still keep going. You'll miss 2, whatever it is. Keep going. Say yes. You said yes. Huge victory. You did your first video. Congratulations, Nancy Barrows. You did it. Right. That's the celebration in my head, right? Of, woo, we did it.
Yes.
And that permission and using my tools. Yes. And being transparent about how I was going to do it. I shared with everyone, this is what's going to happen. And I'm sharing it because maybe you need to do it this way as well in order to say yes. And so I said, there's probably days I'm going to record more than one video and schedule them through Buffer, and you'll see them, right? But I'm using my tools. I'm being honest about where I'm at. And I'm giving myself permission to be human. Yes. Like, come on, like, just... And someone made a brilliant comment. It's like, well, they're actually more worried about when they get it right. And there is that piece of people being worried about, like, what's the fear of success? What's the 11 years on you?
I feel like that's a whole nother like conversation.
Totally.
The fear of success.
The fear of success. Yeah.
I'm with you. And to be in your corner on that, like, I remember I had a coach challenge me in January 2020. He said, I want you to do a video every day on LinkedIn. And I said, every day. And he's like, all right, weekdays. So from like middle of January 2020 until I got hit by a pickup truck on May 3rd of 2020.
Literally hit by a truck.
Literally hit by a pickup truck. I did a video every weekday. So I gave myself time off on the weekends. And sometimes I would press record and be like, I have no idea what I'm about to say. And you just did it. And then it was a rep. It's like a rep. People don't realize when they see someone being successful or confident doing this stuff, oh my gosh, it's the reps. It's the reps. It's the reps. It's the reps. The discipline creates a freedom that builds your confidence, that even if you miss a day or 2 or a week or take off a month of your own show that you just started, like, you can always pick back up. I agree, Joe. I don't trust people that never screw up. Seriously.
Oh, absolutely. If you don't do human, we can't. Yeah. And like you said, it's so funny because I did pre-record a video that will be going up there that was all like, hey, when you have that brilliant idea and you can't wait to share it with the world, and then you hit record and it doesn't make sense in your own head anymore. Like, hey, welcome to my world. Like, I was all ready to go. And there it was. It was like, And the more we are just ourselves and we give ourselves permission to be ourselves, and we allow others to see us that way. Yes. Because a lot of it is, again, all those NDB happy things that I'm not arrogant enough to argue with when
Yeah.
we show up at ourselves, all the people who comment and send you a message or follow suit or tell you that they're learning from you or inspired by you,
Yes.
next time you go to do it, remember, you're not smarter than everybody else out there. We have
Right.
our own set of rules that we apply to ourselves, and we would never apply to anyone else. Never do that. And so that being disciplined and showing up and being yourself is, yes, it's about so many things.
Yes.
But part of it is gathering evidence for a new narrative.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally. I'm completely with you on that. And it's like, I like to say, it's like, look for the proof, right? Look for the proof
Mhm.
that competes against the story that you've been telling yourself. Like, look for the proof. It is there,
Yeah. What
right?
is
Like,
true and what is helpful? Is that true and is it helpful?
yeah.
Um, and again, this is the privilege that I get of working with people through Chick with the Tool Belt, right? It's like, gosh, I've created something that selfishly allows myself to immerse myself in it every day. Right, exactly. Because it is energizing in a way like none other, right? Again, we're
Yes.
changing a narrative, how you talk to yourself, opening your heart, taking off your mask, showing up to get that evidence, to
Yes.
create that new narrative that makes you stand in that superhero pose
Yes.
and, yeah, totally be like, yeah, I
I
got
got
this.
this. I
Yeah, with
got
a
this.
little bit of like, yep, a little bit of attitude,
A little
right?
sass.
A
Sassy
little bit of
face.
sass, a little bit of attitude.
Yeah.
And again, we've talked about like bare minimum. Man, should we all go out there feeling like a superhero?
Yes.
Because we are.
We
Each
are.
and
That
every
is,
one of us is.
it's such a beautiful way to wrap the conversation. And by the way, let us know. Drop in the comments what the greatest gift is that Nancy gave you today.
Oh, thank
What
you.
your greatest gratitude is from just being here with us. Whether you're on the replay, whether you're watching the recording, or whether you're here with us live, let us know the greatest gift. It was so wonderful seeing so many of you just in the comments and joining us today. Toby and Zach and Jason and Heidi and Brian and Angela and Stevie and Jill and so many people. Gloria, and I know
Wow.
Daniel's here, and is it Lagia and Joey, like Dimitri. I want to make sure I capture Maureen and Vicky. So many people. Just like let us know in the comments, and then for sure follow. I know we dropped her page in here several times today, but
Yes,
make
and
sure that you
I,
follow.
I mean, I offer to your audience, and as I
Yeah.
do most anyone, please, if you want to have a conversation, check out my Calendly. There's a 15-minute free slot just for us to connect as people. You are not obligated. You don't have to want to tell a story. You don't have to, you may already be unmasked and unmuted. It's just an opportunity, and I encourage you guys to please, if we are not yet connected, send me a connect request and
Yes.
just say, hey, we spent time together on Rachel's show.
Yes.
And I would love to take the conversation further. Yeah.
Oh, well, I just want to say thank you for showing up and letting your light shine with all of us today. This has been such a life-giving conversation, and you are just such a authentic and genuine person who, like, everybody who's watching, like, what you see is what you get no matter where she is. Nancy shows up the same way as this really human way, no matter where she is, and she truly is a cheerleader and a supporter and an advocate of others, and just a really awesome person to have in your corner. And I'm grateful to know her through LinkedIn. Raquel is, I think, being on Gabe Leal's show, as met you through Raquel, and through that. And so just the power of community and the power of the contagious effect of community in the most beautiful way. So
Mm-hmm.
just, yeah, in closing, your spirit is always felt, Nancy, whether it's virtual or in person. And I can't wait until the moment of the
Oh my
in-person
gosh.
meet, whenever that actually happens. Like, it's gonna be the best. So with that, thank you so much for unmuting yourself today. Thank you
Thank
for sharing your
you.
story. Thank you for the work that you do to talk about something that a lot of people are just too afraid to talk about, and you help them to be brave. So,
Thank
Nancy
you,
Barrows, it has been a joy and a delight. You are a beautiful soul. Thank you for being here.
Rachel. You know my heart, so you know everything I want to say.
I
And thank
know.
you to everyone for the kind words and for being here and for sharing yourselves. I
Yes.
so appreciate that.
Yes. Wonderful. We'll see you next. The 11th. You're not going to want to miss this. My voice coach, Darcy Webb, is going to be joining us as the guest. She was the one who, there's a story that is going to be told next week
Ooh.
that makes me cry every time I tell it. She is a force. She's awesome. So if you're looking to get more confidence in your voice, and how you use it, like she actually trains people around that from a speaking perspective, and she's awesome. So next Monday at 12 Eastern time, Darcy Webb will be on with me. You will not want to miss it. It's going to be another awesome episode. So thank you all for being such an amazing part of this community. And again, Nancy, thank you, thank you, thank you. We will see y'all next week. Bye.